Okay, you guys, this video is going to be about a very heavy, dark, tough, tough, tough subject. Um, this video is not for minors, okay? I'm going to say it right now, it's not for minors, and if you are heavily triggered, then this video may not be for you. This is going to be my thoughts on Darkside of the Ring episode entitled Grizzly Smith. Okay, I have been watching Jake for a long time. Okay, Jake the Snake Roberts has been very vocal about what's happened to him as a child. He's vocal about his dad, he was vocal about his stepmom, all of that stuff. But to have um, Rock and Robin reconfirm all of this is just sick. It's just absolutely sick. It was very, 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 very heavy. And it is a subject that needs to be discussed. It needs to be out in the open because a lot of this stuff is happening not only in professional wrestling but in different sports such as gymnastics, in the entertainment industry, movies, TV shows, um, music industry. It's government. All of this stuff is very, very, very disheartening and heartbreaking to hear, but to hear Jake, as well as his sister, and his other siblings, Sam and Robert, or Richard, I'm sorry, Richard, it breaks my heart because it seems like Grizzly wanted to pin his children up against one another. You can do it better than Jake. Or not Jake. You can do it better than Junior. No, Richard, you can do it better than Junior. Or, just pinning them up against one another, and to finally have Rock and Robin confirm this story that Jake has been telling for years. Have her reconfirm it. It's just heartbreaking. No family deserves to have that happen. And I pray at some point that her body will be recovered and that she can have the proper burial that she deserves. It's disgusting, but I can understand why Joe would do that because she was not getting the proper love and care and nourishment from, her dad or her mom. So she would go and find it elsewhere because there was that void there. If you don't get that nourishment from either of your parents, you'll go to somebody else to get that. You'll go to your grandma, your auntie, your uncle, your grandpa, and get that love and nourishment that you so badly want and need. It's sad that this had to happen. It's sad that, not a whole lot of people, famous and non-famous people, don't want to talk about that, They don't want to talk about the abuse. They don't want to talk about parents pitting their kids up against one another. They don't want to talk about any of that. And for Jake and his siblings to do that, it was hard to hear. The part that tore my heart out was to hear that Grizzly went to Robin's house and asked if his daughter had a specific undergarment or whatever specific thing that he needed for a 9-year-old. And she put that little 9-year-old to the side. They stayed up all night. They didn't go to sleep. And she asked the little 9-year-old little girl, Does he ever pull over on the side of the road and try to kiss you?" She said yes. And as soon as she said that, my heart literally dropped into the pit of my stomach. Like, how in God's name can a grown man do that to a 9-year-old? How in the hell does that happen? And on top of that, besides all that, Jake trying to break into the business and make something of himself just to get back at his dad for not being there, for not saying, "Hey, son, I'm proud of you." He'd go and he'd tell all the other wrestlers that he worked with, "Yeah, I'm proud of my boy." Originally, Jake was supposed to become an architect. He didn't want to get into the wrestling business because his dad was in it. His dad was ever hardly home. Never home. Always out on the road. You got multiple female fans. You got multiple people that you want to hang on to, that you hang with. He's never home. And to top it all off, him having a second wife after he ditched their mom. He went out and got himself a younger chick. And that younger chick became his stepmom, which is Robin's mom. Robin and Sam's mother. That's just disgusting. You're 15, 16 years old and you're targeting a little 12-year-old little boy. You tell that little 12-year-old boy what happens between us. You don't tell nobody. You don't tell nobody. Otherwise, if you do, I'm gonna beat your ass. I'm gonna beat your ass. And on top of that, besides, that going on, Jay didn't want to have friends come over because he was ashamed that he'd get teased. He got teased because his clothes had to be made out of curtains. Okay? His clothes had to be made out of curtains. He didn't want his friends knowing what was going on behind the scenes at home. A friend found out when he went into high school, just as he was finishing high school. He said, "Dude, you're the luckiest man on the planet." Like, how am I lucky? You got the hottest mom on the planet. He's like, "Dude, she's my mother. She's my stepmom. You think me, having this type of behavior between me and my stepmom is cool? What the hell's wrong with you? She's older than me, and you thinking this stuff's funny and it's cool and it's all this, that, and the other. It's not cool to have that stuff happen between a young boy and his stepmama. That's disgusting. It's just, ugh. It makes me sick. This stuff's not easy to talk about, Jake and his siblings have, chosen to say, "Hey, this is what happened to us." And if, we don't share our story and let others know, "Hey, it happened to us too," then how are we going to help people? Jake doesn't like to talk about it. I don't blame him. And he doesn't want to go by his birth name. I don't blame him for that either. He said difference between Jake the Snake Roberts and Aurelion Jr. is the fact that Aurelion never grew up, never got to be mature, never got to be a man. He was too scared, was too frightened. But Jake the Snake Roberts is a dangerous son of a bitch. He could really hurt somebody if he wanted to. The thing with abuse, this type of abuse, is it really fucks up your view on love and what relationships in regards to love are supposed to be. What is supposed to happen between two people. People grow up thinking, "I'm gross, I'm disgusting, I hate the way I look, I'm not comfortable." And it's hard for some, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but it's hard for a lot of people to open up and be vulnerable because some of us have been taught from a very early age that you don't ever talk about stuff like this, because then people will sit there and degrade you for sharing what happened to you. Or people ask, why is this person this way? What made them this way? And then as they grow up, they have a hard time developing romantic relationships that lead to marriage, and then some repeat the cycle that they were put through. I've stated this in multiple videos that I've done in regards to Jake the Snake uh, Resurrection DVD that I covered, that I talked about. And one of the persons that commented on that said this was depressing. Yes, it was depressing, but sharing a story like this can help people not be afraid to share theirs and to be at peace, or to come to terms with that it wasn't their fault. And in this case, watching Jake overcome his demons and make something of himself and get himself sober and have his children back in his life and have, his lady love back. It's the best feeling in the world, and I hope it continues. I hope it stays that route, because I've never seen him this happy. Now he's got this glow about him. He's happy. He's with AEW. He's doing what he needs to do for himself. His sibs are still here. Rockin' Robin and Sam and Richard are here. I just hope that, Richard and Sam and Mike, or Richard, Sam, and Rockin' Robin, along with Jake, they can reconnect someday. Because Jake's like, I want to have a sister. I'd like to have my sister around. Yeah, they were distanced for their father did this to kind of pit them against each other and make them, unaware of one another in some way. And then all of them, with the exception of Richard, became famous. Sam, Rockin' Robin, Jake, they all made their mark on the wrestling world. And now as adults, they're not as close as they would like to be. I would love to see him reconnect with his siblings. I would also like to see him have them find their kid sister, Jo, and give her the proper burial that she deserves, so that they can have closure. Because I don't know what it's like to lose a young sibling and have that person be kidnapped and killed and not know where their body's at. It must be hell. And the one thing I can tell you guys, and like I said, I've covered this in 4 videos. Jake and his siblings now sharing their story and confirming what's already been known about, that's been out there. Them sharing their story helps me confront my demons and help me understand that it wasn't my fault. I am in the process now of trying to love myself, because that's the hardest thing to do, is to love yourself and know that as a person, you are loved and you do matter, and nobody can take that from you, even if they wanted to. I like to help people. I like to get on here and give opinions. Some might not agree with what I've said so far, but I don't expect people to agree with me. I don't expect that at all. But it helps doing this, believe it or not. It helps, because it helps me understand and I realize that it's happened to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't want to share their story because they carry the shame and the guilt, and thinking that it was their fault, thinking they could have done something better. And to those that have suffered that, in childhood and now have had to carry the burden of the trauma, please know that you're not alone and that you are loved and you do matter. Um, like I said, this is not an easy subject to discuss. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to relive that. But if you don't talk about it, you don't. It takes longer for you to heal and to come to terms with it. Like I said, I've said this previous times, countless times. The hardest part for me is self love. Okay? I don't see myself the way people see me. They see me as the outgoing, loving one who would do anything to help anybody who I know personally, because I've had to help a few people. Okay? And I do it from the kindness of my heart. But there was a few people that didn't deserve my help because they were being completely selfish when I went out of my way to help them. And as a result of me helping them, I learned who were my true friends and who weren't. You know, I'm not here to suck up to people or make people like me. Like I said, with me, what you see is what you get. I'm not here to play Willy Wonka. I'm not here to judge people. I'm strictly here to voice my opinion on different topics, although a lot of people may not agree, and that's fine. I love doing this. You know, I like to make my voice heard. Okay. Um, but this subject needs to be talked about more, not just in pro wrestling, not just in music and movies and TV. It needs to be covered so that people are aware of what happens. Because eventually, what happens in the dark will come to light. And like I said, women are all, this happened to me, and etc., etc. Me too, me too. Yeah, but what about the kids? What about the kids that went through this shit and didn't have the guts to say anything until they were almost adults? Kids need to be heard too, you know? It's sad that a lot of them don't want to come forward and say nothing because they've been told, if you say something, I'm gonna hurt you, or this is what's gonna happen to you. And then there's some that come out and then get shamed for it and get laughed at, and then it gets swept under the rug. That's gonna stop. For those that have not come out yet and decided not to share their story, I hope you guys get the courage and the strength to share yours. And let everybody else know who has been through the exact same thing that they're not the only ones. Okay, because this is a disturbing topic. I'm sorry that this is so short. I know it's not what everybody wanted, but it's extremely dark. It's a dark, 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 heavy, heavy topic. If you decide to watch it, just know it is very dark and very heavy. But this story needed to be told. Because there's countless grown adults who were once kids who were put through the same exact thing. But they have not told their story. Hopefully Jake and his siblings sharing their stories helps others face their demons and rise. And they can make something of themselves and help others out. I just want to say thank you to Jake and his siblings. You guys are doing great. I hope the success keeps coming for you, Jake. You know you're loved. You got all this love out here. You got your grandkids, your kids, your lady love, who loves the living holy hell out of you. Never forget that you are loved. And I want to send my love to your siblings and their families as well. Okay? Thanks.